Do you want to attack and serve like the world best players, but are you still lacking something to have excellent hitting technique? In today's video I have 7 great exercises for you on how to improve your attack technique with wrist work when hitting the ball. Advice that will not only help you to hit harder but also more accurately, and these tips will greatly help you in controlling the ball during your attack and serve. But first of all, I want to mention that I will be presenting my subjective opinion. Some coaches or players may not agree with my advice. On the other hand, this technique has worked for me well, and some famous players are also hitting and serving with this technique. Hitting powerful attacks and being successful on the attack or serve is the goal of all volleyball players. Therefore, in order to master all these complex movements, we need to engage the whole body, jump, extend our muscles and hit the ball. It's the wrist and palm that are at the end of these chains of movements, and the wrist work influences the flight path, directions and rotation of the ball. That's why I want to show you what I think is the ultimate ball hitting technique, but if you have a different opinion, just let me know in the comments. In addition, I will show you an excellent hand and wrist exercise to improve your speed and off attacks that you can do anywhere outdoors or indoors. During practices we are with the ball, touching it with a different part of our body. We are passing, setting, blocking and also often attacking and serving. We also do a lot of exercises to strengthen our body, but we often don't pay that much attention to the wrist itself, to developing the technique of touching the ball. Yes, we make sure that we hit the ball correctly, that it doesn't fly from side to side. But on the other hand, many players, not just young players, don't use their wrist technique, strength and mobility to the maximum. Look at the attacks of Robert Simon, who works his wrist beautifully on all his hits. But before we look at how to improve your wrist work, let's look at the mistakes we make when hitting that are relating to wrist work. You can see such firm, rigid wrists in many players and world-class players too. The wrists and fingers are like an extension of the hand in these movements. They don't bend. Whether it's the movements of the hands just before the jump or before hitting the ball. And that's one of the things I think we need to work on. The second common mistake is that we slow down or stop our hand and wrist movement when hitting the ball. This usually happens to us when we are afraid. If we go to serve after a timeout and we want to give a secure jump serve, or in the end of the sets. Then we often serve into the net or into the out because we slow down our hand and wrist movement at the last moment, just before the hit. Another mistake you are sure to be familiar with is hitting the ball inaccurately. It happens to everyone that we don't hit the ball as we would like to, and it usually results in attacking out or serve mistake. Sometimes the reason is a bad judgment of flight of the ball. We jump too early and the ball is still a meter above us. Sometimes an exaggerated effort to hit the hardest attack, but often it's a mistake caused by not tracking the ball until the last movement, when we are already bowing our head and believing that our hand and wrist will hit the ball in the ideal position. And among the mistakes that affect the work of our wrist, I also include the non-fluent movement during hitting. A volleyball hit should be smooth in the vast majority of cases. We should not stop our hand in the air and wait for the ball. Imagine how you would serve if you throw the ball, jumped up, extend your body and now had to stop your body for a tenth of a second before serving. This is very difficult, and volleyball hitting on the attack or serve is all about fluidity in my opinion. And I often talk about technique being more than power itself. And that's why the best possible technique of hitting the ball with the wrist is very important for every volleyball player. Because then we control where the ball is going, where we are going to hit. If you don't have a good wrist technique, you can say goodbye to hitting the ball well. You can have all the power you want, jump higher than others, but your attacks will often end up out of the court or in the places you don't want them to fly. That's why I have these simple exercises for you to work your hand when hitting, and especially to work and move your wrist. The goal of these tips is to get your wrist mobile when preparing for attack or serve, and also to use its movements and mobility when hitting. Of course, if you want to have a good wrist, you need to take care of it, stretch it and do exercises on it, like the ones you'll find in this video. First, I show you in slow motion what I imagine your wrist should do when you attack. To start, we are just talking about light, controlled ground hit when you are constantly tracking the ball. The hand should make a fluid motion, reaching out and sort of hitting the ball. The important thing is to engage the wrist movement. When the hand is down, it should sort of scoop water into the palm, hold that water up and at the highest point release the wrist to bend to the other side and swing on the downward motion. Try this a few times without the ball. Now add the ball to this. Hold the ball in your left hand if you are right-handed. Throw the ball slightly and hit it lightly with your right hand. Hit the ball with enough power that it bounces off the ground back into your left hand. Once you have it in your left hand, repeat the throw and hit. Again, watch your wrist work so that it bends, picks up water and there is a swing and proper contact on the ball when touching it. Then perform this movement when you are warming up in pairs, when you are facing a teammate and attacking against each other. Pitch the ball, the hand and wrist describe the same path of motion, only now you are already pitching the ball overhead and also the hit should have already been executed with more power. You can also perform a similar exercise to the previous one at the wall. You throw the ball in front of you, hit it, after the ball bounces off the wall, you catch the ball and hit again. Once you have mastered this and the balls are regularly bouncing off the wall towards you, you move from single attacks with a pause to a more complex exercise when you attack several times in a row against the wall. Keep an eye on your hand and wrist movement at all times. Each time, keep your eyes on the ball until the ball is touched. It's important to perform this exercise with the same or similar power, directing your hits to the same place so that the ball bounces high enough to reach you from the wall. React to any bounces away from you with footwork. Now we move on to imitating an attack over the net. Put the net lower, for example I have it at the height about 20 centimeters lower, so it's about the height of a woman's net. Stand in zone 4, 1 or 2 meters from the net. Throw the ball and try to hit it as high as you can on a long diagonal using the technique described. You don't have to immediately hit with maximum power, but rather watch your hit technique. The ball should have a lot of rotation and go exactly where you want it to. Rotation is important because it's where the control lies. A hard exercise and imitation is practicing the roll shot. I don't mean classical tip and throwing the ball, but a light wrist hit. Roll shot that should not be readable. Again, we perform the same technique when doing the roll shot. Only at the last moment we slow down the hand, but the wrist still stays in motion and nicely rotate the ball, which lands just behind the net. You can try this roll shot down the line or in the middle of the court. It will definitely come in handy in matches, but again, without good wrist work you won't be successful. This exercise is difficult when performed from the ground, and it's even more difficult from the max jump. And now, from my own experience, I give you one exercise that will help you speed up your handwork and especially your wrist. I practice it all the time myself. Throw the ball high in the air, then try hitting it with maximum power as the ball falls. In order to hit the ball well, you need to have a very fast hand because the ball falls from a great height and itself already has a high speed. And you have to hit it. Hit it well with the palm of your hand using a fast wrist. The ball is actually escaping under your hand and you are not only trying to catch it up but to give it a lot of energy with your hit for the subsequent bounce. This is an excellent exercise, but exercise that you should do once you have your shoulder and arm properly warmed up. Don't do it immediately after coming to practice. You could cause a muscle strain or shoulder injury. So I believe that all these exercises and tips to improve your wrist work will help you become a better player. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.